Some dare call it conspiracy.
Welcome to Some Dare Call It Conspiracy with Brent Lee and Neil Sanders. This is Midnight in Riga, a prelude. Today, we are joined by Nelly Pailleux, COO of Le Soyonnaire, a pioneering media organization known for its rigorous legal fact-checking methodology. In this episode, Nelly shares her journey from journalist solidaire to co-founding Check First, and her current role at Le Soyonnaire. We also dive into pressing topics such as the recent allegations of fraudulent elections in Georgia and the sovereign citizen movement in France, examining the intersection of misinformation and legal realities. Join us as we navigate these complex issues and uncover the facts. Welcome, Nelly Pailleux.
Probably just jump in then.
Yeah, thank you, Nelly, for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. If you could just be so kind as to just explain who you are and just give us a bit of a brief introduction to yourself, please.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Nelly Pailleux. I'm the Chief Operation Officer at Les Surligneurs, which is a French media which has been existing since 2017. And we are at Les Surligneurs doing legal checking. That is to say that we confront the saying of politicians with the law. And I previously co-founded Check First, which is a company within which we would tackle disinformation. And I particularly worked on how recommendation algorithms would put disinformation towards their users.
Oh, excellent. So Check First is like a sort of is fact-checking organization, isn't it? It's
So Check First is not media. Les Surligneurs, where I work now, is a media within which we do fact-checking and legal checking. But Check First would more work on digital investigation and writing reports, particularly on several social media platforms.
Oh, I see. Right. So that was the detective work in the background then.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. And so, and you were saying that you were finding that algorithms were actually pushing disinformation. That's the sort of investigations that you were working on there.
Yeah. When I was at Check First, we released an investigation, particularly on the Google recommendation algorithms would put disinformation towards their users on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, particularly when you would type Donbass in the Google search bar, you will find a pro-Kremlin website appearing on the first results.
Oh, wow. So how does something like that come about? Would that be the fault of, I mean, obviously it's the fault of, but would it be the fault of Google, or has that particular website got some really sort of incredible SEO type things going on to push it and sort of game Google? How does it work?
I mean, we don't know, and that's part of the mystery, and that's also why we would lead such investigations, because we wanted more accountability from the platforms. And I quoted Google as an example, but we could also talk about Meta, talk about X, talk about TikTok, etc. But just to be crystal clear, I really enjoy speaking about my work at Check First, but I might not be the perfect person to do that because I'm not in the company anymore.
No, sure.
I love their job and I love what they're doing, but I don't want to talk on their behalf since I'm not here anymore.
No, absolutely. That's fine, but it's just fascinating that sort of that's the angle that people are having to go at with this disinformation.
Yeah, actually, I have to go a bit deeper in the past. So the thing is, I was doing my master's degree in journalism. And then the pandemic hits. And so I joined a collective of journalists, which was called Journalistes Solidaires. I don't even know how I would translate that in English.
Solidarity between journalists.
Yeah, solidarity between journalists. And so we would be a collective of volunteers doing fact-checking on misinformation circulating about COVID. And so we started doing that. I was at the end of my master's degree, and we would spend all of our free time during lockdown fact-checking sentences and claims about COVID-19 misinformation. And then I met Amaury and Guillaume there, who I co-founded Check First with. And so when the end of lockdown arrived, everybody in the collective came back to their lives and continued what they were doing before. And I was just finishing my master's degree. And with Amaury and Guillaume, we were like, we want to do something with that. We want to continue. I wasn't working in tackling disinformation at all at the moment. I was a cultural journalist, so I was reading books, watching movies, criticizing them on the internet, and working for several generalistic media aside my master's degree. But yeah, that's how we met. And the funny thing is that we built the company while we had never seen each other.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, not in real life. I mean, we would spend all of our evening talking on Discord and by video conference on disinformation and every kind of question we had at the moment. But yeah, we built the company when we had never seen each other before. So yeah, and I stayed there for 3.5 years, and it was a wonderful experience. But then I wanted to see also what was going on in the media sector, and particularly in the fact-checking sector.
Yeah.
So after having a sort of quarter-life breakdown when I left 6 months in South America, I came back to Paris and joined Les Surligneurs in August.
Oh, fantastic. So tell us a bit more about Les Surligneurs. It's a website. Is it published as a physical media?
No, we are not physical media. We only publish on our website, lesurligneurs.eu. Les Surligneurs means the highlighters.
Oh, okay.
Because the purpose at the beginning was to highlight the political mistakes of politicians during the 2017 presidential campaign. So it was built by Vincent Couronne, who is a researcher in law, particularly in EU law, and who was seeing the promises French politicians would make during the 2017 presidential campaign. And he was jumping in front of his TV by saying all the nonsense and all the unfeasible promises politicians would make. So he started to build a media. And he started to build a media made of only researchers in law, who are people who, of course, know the law very well, but who have a very specific language and very specific way to see the news with the legal side, which is sometimes pretty hard to understand. So they started like that, and then they continued by working with journalists who were sort of translating what the researchers in law were analyzing and saying about the news, about the sentences, about all the facts that were said. And the journalist would translate it to the general public to make it more understandable.
Okay, so a lot of it is looking at actual law. So would that ever lead to like a sort of a prosecution? So my understanding is that basically you're looking at what, say, politicians have said and stuff like that. You're looking at it through a legal framework. So how would that work if you were to hold a politician to account?
Yeah, so we had a French MEP during the European election of 2024 who promised that she would refer to all war crimes and crimes against humanity committed during the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to the International Criminal Court for trial.
Right, okay.
So that was one of her promise to be elected as an MEP in the European Parliament. But then the thing is, everyday people do not often know that, but that's the good thing working with people who work in the law field. The thing is that an MEP doesn't have the possibility to seize the IPCC. So as good as her intentions were, it's not legally feasible. I mean, other people can do it, but an MEP cannot do that.
Right, okay. So so it's pulling people up on sort of empty promises and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we also do legal analysis. For example, we have this very big trial which is going on right now about the rape of Mazon.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the woman whose husband was essentially selling her.
Yeah, exactly. So we are working on the whole definition of consent, which is absent from the law in France. So the notion of consent in the definition of rape, and we are going to release a whole series of articles about that, because it's not always like true or false or feasible or not feasible, because one can think, and I have to admit, I thought when I joined Les Surligneurs that, oh, it's law, so you have legal text and you are either in the law or out of the law. So it's either legal or illegal, feasible or not feasible. But the thing is, of course, it's way more complicated than that, because the law, the rule of law, is always moving, is subject to a lot of interpretations. And so I also learned that in the law field, you often have many, many notions. You often have a consensus, and then you have other people who interpret the law in different way. But that's very interesting because it's a field which is always moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So using different prongs, essentially, you've got the sort of the law and whether what somebody's saying you is feasible and possible, and then the journalistic aspect of it, and understanding how media works and such like that. I mean, it's interesting the concept of using legality for it, because a lot of the time people would assume that disinformation is just people lying. It doesn't really fall in the sort of purview of legal or not. If a politician comes on the screen and says something, they can always fall back on the I was misinformed, that was my opinion at the time, that wasn't my political opinion, it was my personal opinion, and such like that. So does the focus always go on the legality of it, or is it more broader than that?
When we started, we would only focus on the legality, but now we are also doing fact-checking.
Ah, I see.
I mean, like classical fact-checking as you would imagine it. We have the fact-checking part. We mainly focus on the legal part. Then we do analysis, which I talked about before. And then we are starting to do a bit of investigations. I mean, we just released an investigation about the legislative elections in Georgia.
Yeah.
Where we discovered that some French observers were given a lot of credit by the first TV channel of the country, which is pro-government, which is pro-Georgian Dream. So there was this press conference where we would see 4 French international observers, or depicted as such. And they would say that everything went well during the election, that they didn't see any problem, whereas we know that there has been some problems during the day of the vote. And they would legitimize what happened. And then when they came back to France, some of them also expressed themselves on social media saying that the election went very well and that the other observers from the European Parliament or from different institutions, the OSCE, etc., were just electrifying the debates and trying to make much noise about nothing. We see what's happening in Georgia now. I mean, the president has been elected. He's a former footballer, pro-Russian guy from the Georgian Dream Party, and there has been protests since a month and a half now.
What sort of a fraud was it? It looked to me like it was as straightforward as just like stuffing ballot boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then if you've got, so where do these French observers come into it? I'm presuming that them saying that everything was fine and on the up and up probably isn't their actual opinion. So why have they been driven to suggest that sort of thing?
They all have ties to far right in France.
Ah, right. There you go. That explains it. Nope, that's fine. That's fine. Right. Okay. So yeah.
My mistake. So I mean, there were a lot of French observers who went to observe the Georgian elections, and they were part of some delegations. Sometimes we have deputies. We had a lot of people, and then the first Georgian TV channel chose to give the mic to 4 French observers, but we have also a lot of other European observers. And the common point between all these observers is that they all have ties to far right. So can be far right in France, but we also have people from Poland a lot, Argentina, Hungary. All these people in this press conference are all linked to far right and are all legitimizing the outcome of the votes.
Yeah.
And so there is no balance in the opinion, which is shared by Imedi, the first TV channel in Georgia.
So these people in France and various other countries, Are we seeing like a sort of kind of resurgence of what we saw sort of 2016, where you've got like people like Steve Bannon and the Mercers desperately trying to sort of make connections across Europe? You had sort of Meloni, Salvini, and Le Pen, Orban, obviously, the Golden Dawn in Greece. Is it that type of thing that we're starting to see? And where does it start? I suppose. Do these people just have common ideas, or are they being stoked on by Russia?
So there are two things. The first thing is, I think I wouldn't share a lot of things, a lot of opinions with these people, but they are allowed to be from far right.
Oh no, sure, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them for being from far right. But what we did is wondering why they were the only people who were invited and were displayed on the first Georgian media and quoted as observers, even if, like, we wrote the article a week ago and then we had a response on another local newspaper by a guy who said he wasn't an observer, he was an expert. But he's displayed as an observer anyway in every Georgian media, so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, sorry, can you repeat your question?
Where's this all coming from? Is this collection of the far right people that seem to be supporting Russia across Europe? Do they just have shared wants and desires, essentially a white ethno state, or are they actually being driven by Russia? Are they being, say, financed, or what? Where does it begin?
I have no idea. I mean, the thing we tried to find and that we didn't find is who invited them. Because you have to be invited by someone to be
Yeah.
an expert or an observer or anyone. But there was more than 100 local observer association and then like between 70 and 80 international observers. And so I reached out to all of them, of course, to ask who invited these guys. And I don't have answers from everyone, but I mean, no one seems to know them. So my question is, who invited them and how come they were invited to speak on national television at some point? I don't even think that they are paid by or sent by Russia or anything. I mean, it's way more complicated than that, I have to admit. But we have a guy in the middle who also was an observer in the Russia 2024 presidential elections.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and who said that Russia was an example for democracy in the West and that,
Getting now, right?
yeah, the same guy went to Azerbaijan invited by the state of Azerbaijan. I don't know, it's sort of like a lot of different things. And what is also interesting is that they are not really influenced people. Like one is the mayor of a 50 inhabitants countryside village. I mean, they are not like presidential candidates or deputies or, yeah, member of the parliament or anything. They are not.
They're not like really prominent figures, or it's suspiciously enough to get on Georgian television and give the impression, basically, that it's enough. It's a thin smattering. It's almost like window dressing, really, isn't it? Like if it wasn't for people like yourselves and sort of looking out for these things, they could have very well got away with it. It's a fascinating thing.
So there are two things. The first thing is, which is interesting, is that one of the guys who make a kind of answer in a local newspaper say, oh no, I wasn't an international observer. I was invited by a member of the Georgian Dream Party, the party
Right.
who won. So we were like, oh, okay, so you're making it crystal clear that you were invited by the party to observe the election. You're not even pretending that you are supposed to be neutral international observer. You completely go with the fact that you are invited by the Georgian Dream Party. So that's the first thing, which is, yeah, kind of funny because, I mean, he's totally okay with that. Second thing is, not a lot of people have spotted that. And actually, if I have to give all the credits to them, we were contacted by a fact-checking outlet in Georgia, which is called Myth Detector.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they reached out to us saying, hey, we are working on international observers and we have found this guy. Do you happen to know them? Who they are, etc., etc. And so we started to do like basic OSINT things like, reverse image search and Googling their name and translating it from Georgian, etc., etc. The journalist here, she sent it to us and we were like, wow, but we didn't see anything in French media about that. So yeah, she released an investigation before us because she was working also on what were the consequences in Georgia, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And so we just published last week because we had to do a big background check of who those guys were. And the last thing is, what was also interesting is that the former member of the Georgian Dream Party said that they invited a lot of international observers to legitimize the votes.
Right, I see. That's very clever, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of effort that's gone into that. It's not they've not planned that in a weekend, have they? They've certainly thought it through.
Yeah.
Was this really a sort of disinformation campaign, though, or is it simply more just a sort of railroading of democracy?
No, I don't think it was like what we could interpret as a disinformation campaign or something coordinated and very sophisticated. I mean, there might have been disinformation campaign in Georgia, but I'm not aware of that. It's cherry picking. Like,
Wow, yeah.
yeah, you just take the opinion of people who go with your side of the story.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing because, like, a lot of the sort of pro-patriot types have been really pro-Russian for quite a long time, mostly because, and this is going to sound massively oversimplified, and it's also not technically true, but mostly because Russia doesn't like people of color, it doesn't take immigrants, it doesn't like Muslims, and they hate gay people. Now, actually, if you go and look at some of the stats, they've got something like 15% Muslim population. They've got quite a large Muslim population. So even that is disinformation. But bizarrely, the shift from the sort of Cold War era of Russia is our enemy to Russia's being a representative of strong, essentially white nationalism,
Yeah.
has been a right soft propaganda coup over at least the last 10, 15 years, but in certain areas.
Russia is also embodying and making a lot of noise about how they are restoring the values of conservative world.
Yes.
Like, being anti woke is not even a noun there, but as you say, anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti any form of progress, and how that's also what they are doing in Africa. It's pretty interesting to see, particularly in West Africa, the influence of Russia, because they are
Really?
yeah, they are talking, for example, about gay Europe,
Right.
and how Europe is being completely destroyed by wokeism and
Oh, yeah, this fall of Rome nonsense.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah.
And how Russia is getting back to conservative, traditional values.
Yeah, as the people need to read some Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Like, they'll soon change their mind.
Right. I've got a final kind of question about your work at Le Souvenir and kind of to do with conspiracies.
Yeah.
So I think the legal fact checking is a really fascinating approach to addressing falsehoods and disinformation. It's really, really interesting because understanding the law and your rights is empowering. And there's an example of this in conspiracy community with the sovereign citizen movement. Has Le Souvenir ever done any investigations into these groups? Like, for example, One Nation, the French sovereign citizen movement led by Alice Pazamar?
Yeah, the sovereign citizen movement. I think they are the number one people we fact check.
Excellent.
Good catch. We have actually your deputy editor-in-chief taking care of all the legal checking department at Les Surlignards, and he is doing a PhD on the sovereign citizens movements. So yeah, he's working on that a lot. So everyone wish we will have the time and resources to investigate on who they are, who are they structured, what are the links to several political parties, why do they think that, etc., etc. But basically, we have two types of reaction when we do legal checking. We have movements of the person like the sovereign citizens who would say, you're saying that what I said as a sovereign citizen is not confirmed with the law, like doesn't fit the law at all. But I don't care because I don't care about the law, because I'm not signing for that and I'm not concerned about the law. then we have other people who are saying that we just interpret things a different way, but they are abiding by the same law.
The people who have the cheat codes, the people that
Yeah.
basically say, "Are you standing under your oath? I'm not traveling. I'm moving through a conveyance.
Yeah,
Like, it's not a
exactly.
car. It's a means of transport and stuff like that." So
Exactly.
people that don't understand what synonyms are.
Yeah, but I mean, there was this video. It's very cliche, but it shows pretty well how it goes. Where I think it's France Info, vrai ou fake, who interviewed someone from the sovereign citizen who was receiving an employment pension. That's how you say it.
Yeah,
But then who wouldn't pay his taxes.
yeah. Okay, so he's getting some sort of welfare, but he's not. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's incredible, isn't it? How some people are very, very sort of anti some parts of the system, and yet other parts of the system they tend to sort of like.
The journalist was facing him with this contradiction. Like, do you understand that the same state that you are paying your taxes is the same state who's giving you an employment check? And he was like, yeah, I understand, but I didn't sign for the taxes, but I signed for the unemployment check.
I'm amazed he didn't take it that step further and go, it's not real money anyway, it's just a receipt. Like, it doesn't
It's just
matter.
paper.
Exactly,
It's paper and
you know,
metal.
like it's
You just
all
have to
it's
print more, right?
exactly, it's all just debt. It's all just created on a computer. There's nothing more complicated than that. So, oh well, I'm glad that that you guys get sovereign citizens as well. I used to work for a power company, and there was an entire department set up to just laughing at people that had sent things saying this will be paid by the sum of the amount of this. It won't, like, but your name will be added to a bailiff's list. So.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we fact check sovereign citizens and then we would sometimes face attacks. Actually, when I was in Riga, I had the very nice surprise one night of finding a 30-minute YouTube video from a French conspiracist girl who's close to the sovereignist movements.
Oh yeah.
Saying how our interpretation of the law was wrong and how we were possessed by every kind of European Union demon or anything. And what was funny is that she spends, I don't know, in 30 minutes, she spends, I would say, 7 minutes on what we say and how she disagreed with that. And then she spent the whole rest of the video talking about who funds us.
Ah.
Yeah, we have our developer who took a bullet for everyone because we just have his logo on our website, and then she went on the website of our developer who has many, many clients and is doing a lot of stuff with a lot of people. But I mean, he's being transparent, you know, there is no secrets behind that. And she makes like a 10-minute part of a video about him saying that he worked for the French minister of I don't know what. And it just took a bullet where like you had nothing to do with that.
Well, you say that, but there's no smoke without fire, is there?
Yeah,
So, but
exactly.
this is an interesting point. I think this is one of the sort of the challenges that we face is that basically, essentially, that disinformation. Right, this girl spent 30 minutes making a video. She's talking about law and stuff like that. She's probably not. Like, she's probably got the capacity to think and stuff like that. That disinformation serves a purpose for her. It's part of her identity. Same with the far right. Same with concepts about like immigration, anti-Islam, stuff like that. The problem with disinformation is that it serves a purpose. It serves a function in the identity of these people. And when it's being produced by, and I'm being broad strokes here, Russia or whatever, they're aware that they can create entities and people who have identities like Alex Joneses and stuff, and that soft propaganda can be used. So this is why the work of people like yourself is so incredibly important, because we're almost at like a sort of meta disinformation stage of society, aren't we?
I have this feeling when I joined Les Surligneurs, I really believed in the project because I remember during COVID, everyone was lost because we are not scientists. So it's very easy to make disinformation about something 1% of the population understands and is capable of debunking. And it doesn't have the same consequences, of course, but the same thing happened with law. I mean, if you don't work in the law field, let's be honest, you don't understand a lot of things about law. And even if you work in the law field, you have specificity, like you work in EU law or company law, private, public, family, everything. And so it's very easy, I mean, to spread disinformation saying that, okay, the constitution is made like that, so the constitution, I don't know, prevents you from paying your taxes. And who's going to tell you that you're wrong? I mean, apart from people who are working in the law field. And then, same thing as the scientists who were debunking misinformation during COVID. They are good at debunking the misinformation, but there is a job that has to be done, which is translating what the scientists are saying, what the law people are saying, to something which is understandable by everyone. No, the Constitution doesn't say that you don't pay your taxes or anything. The Constitution say that because it applies in this case, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, make it understandable for everyone. And I think this is a job we really have to be concentrated on, because otherwise we will lost everyone and just appear as this kind of elite talking about law and how law is working in terms no one's understand. And so we are really refraining from doing that.
Wow.